We start Game of the Year this year with a bit of a scoop for people who may not have filled out the nomination form, and that is our traditional show opener, the Randy Pitchford Award, celebrating dumb, bad, and shady practices in video games, has been discontinued because of the overwhelming crimes afoot in the games industry over the last couple of years. It has become an increasingly dour category to start the show with. And I think we're just going to come from a stance of, fuck a lot of them, and just get straight into actually talking about video games this year. So with that out of the way, we will get our other sort of negative-ish category out of the way, but a more focused on games one. That is disappointment of the year. Previous winners in this category: 2016, No Man's Sky; 2017, Middle Earth Shadow of War; 2018, We Happy Few; 2019, Rage 2; 2020, the Final Fantasy VII Remake; 2021, 12 minutes.
I can't decide what I want more between Jack to go for another 20 minutes about Final Fantasy VII Remake or Barry to go for another 20 minutes about 12 minutes. Because they're both equally entertaining.
Let's not forget the Shadow of War debacle.
That is true. That is true.
This is a category that has had a surprising amount of passionate promos for a category called Most Disappointing.
She was.
I was going to say, can we retroactively take away No Man's Sky?
I was.
No Man's Sky kind of rules now. Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
It's the it is the only one on the list that did turn things around.
I feel bad that
Shout
none
out
of
to
us have
Six
kind
that got the redemption story.
I feel bad that none of us have over the years kind of gone back into it, because everyone I know who has is like, oh, it's great.
Dave does.
Have you put it in any year for an award? Have you? I don't remember if we debated it.
I think I put it in once for of not this year, but I could. I'll put about 10 to 20 hours in every time it gets one of the big upgrades.
The big updates.
And I'm like, this game rules. I should play it more. And then, kind of because of what we do here, something huge comes along that I have to put it back down for and completely forget about again. But that game rules now. And it would have been like the game of forever if it had come out like this originally, but whatever. This year, instead of the Wheel of Names website, we have gone for a very expensive Wheel of Fate in person. So I'm going to.
I want to see both sides of that. I want to check there's no weights.
Yes, I'm actually, and this is why I'll actually be putting the wheel horizontal, because I was doing some testing earlier, and when I spin the wheel, it tends to kind of point at whatever is like the bottom segment.
Okay.
So I'll be
horizontal on camera though, Dave.
Oh my! I'm not. Do you think I have a 2-camera setup in this office?
You know what would make
we haven't got that kind of money.
You know what would make these lengthy proceedings great is watching replay VAR of the wheel, arguing about whose name got pointed to on the wheel. Yeah. That would be great.
Yes. What I reckon I'm going to do in terms of deciding who goes when is we will spin to decide the first name, and then in the first category I will proceed clockwise from that name. In the second category I'll proceed anti-clockwise from that name.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to you remembering which order. Both every time you all know.
Look, I'm a professional. I definitely don't.
He has
forget.
A wheel, Mark. All right,
I have a wheel. Yeah, exactly. I don't see your wheel.
How many whiskeys deep are you in currently?
I am stone cold sober this year because I went to make myself a Jameson ginger ale and lime, but I don't actually have any ginger ale left. Part 2 tomorrow, however, different story. I may have to actually write down clockwise, anti-clockwise on each category as we're going along here. But anyway, to determine who goes first, we will spin the wheel and then I'll read out the nominees.
Great start.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I put a bit too. I put a bit too much zest in it and knocked it off the table here beside me. It's Mark starting off, and our nominees for Disappointment of the Year this year: Tunic, Elden Ring, Shredder's Revenge, Horizon Forbidden West, God of War Ragnarok, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, Scorn, Curse to Golf, PS Plus, and Chocobo GP. Mark, you have the floor.
All right, let's get rocking and rolling. I am so fascinated to know why Shredder's Revenge is on here.
That was the strangest one for me too.
Yeah,
that game fucking rules.
Is this a Jack?
No.
Did you not know who put Shredder's Revenge on most disappointing?
Did someone type it in the wrong field?
I'm suspecting that must have been the case. It was definitely there. I can assure you of that.
Wait, so no one voted for this?
No,
there is no game this year that like better fit expectations as well. It's like it delivered literally exactly what it said on the tin.
Yeah, this had to have been
this must have been an error. Okay.
Well, this has made your choice easier, buddy.
Right, we're off to a wrong start then. Because I was thinking, like, surely, because no one like messaged me or DM'd me about the form picks, but I was expecting at least one person to say, like, well, why the fuck is
there was two games in this category where I was like, holy shit, I definitely need to include these because it is going to meet with strong resistance. And this was one of them. So I am absolutely delighted to be able to take that off. I didn't want to. I felt I'd be taking crazy pills fighting that.
To ease us in here this year.
Okay. Yep. Thank you. Enjoy, boys.
Okay. So next up is me. And I'm just saying it right now. It is, to me, it is much more egregious than the mystery ghost putting Shredder's Revenge on this list. And that's Elden Ring, the disappointment of the year. And this one, I know where this one came from. A2, Jacques. A2. Elden Ring is coming right the fuck off this list.
So the reason I put it on most disappointing is because I'm disappointed in myself for not being able to play Elden Ring.
I mean, surely you should be nominating yourself then for this category.
No, I'm nominating Elden Ring because I am not good enough to play it, and obviously that's not my fault. It's Elden Ring's fault.
Let me tell you, I will take Jack straight off this list. None of us are disappointed in
this is the first time we've had an existential crisis argument.
And it's category 1, boys.
but purely because I really wanted to play through this game, and I've watched other people play this game so much, and it looks really fun, and deeper into the game looks way more interesting. And I couldn't get there because it was just too much of a grind, and I just wasn't very good at it, and I wasn't having a good time with it. And it's not because the game itself is in any way disappointing, just disappointing that, look, you know, I'm not going to make any arguments for or against Elden Ring at this point, but it's obviously not disappointing. The disappointment sits entirely with me for not being able to figure out how to get this game done. So that's why I put it on my most disappointing of the year. And thanks for taking me off the list.
Poetically, I was actually looking forward to being incredibly riled up already, but I am now disappointed that there was no Jack rolling in here like fuck Elden Ring.
I would be curious to know though, because obviously, you know, Elden Ring sold gangbusters, but I would be curious to see like the amount of people that played Elden Ring as their first From Software game and played, you know, no more than an hour because they were just like, I can't just do this.
You can kind of I guess.
I know you can see with trophies and whatnot.
You can kind of extrapolate, although that like presupposes that people will find certain things in certain orders. Like, you know, everybody recommends you go for Margit first, so that would be like a decent temperature check, but like not everybody's going to know what direction to go.
Right. And even if you direct line to Margit, that's still like 4 hours. If you're good, if you're really good.
Even before that, you might stroll up to that tree sentinel and get
actually,
I'm good.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Garrett, but isn't there a trophy or achievement for just arriving in Limgrave when you go to your first, like when you come out into the main area? I think
that's only like 15 minutes as well, though.
Yeah. So that might be like if anybody
that didn't make it through the tutorial, and actually the tutorial was optional for a while.
Hey, listen, there was tutorial area discourse this year over how whether or not it was obvious enough. You go, oh man, what an exhausting time it was when that game came out. Holy shit!
Next up after me, we've got Garrett. Garrett, it's your first time to cull something from a list. You never forget your first time, pal.
That's true. I think Curse to Golf, just on the basis that I don't think anybody was really anticipating it. And I think it's just a regular old kind of mediocre middle of the road game as opposed to a real disappointment.
Well, it kind of sucks more than mediocre, I would say.
Well, yeah, but it's just you like no one came here, like no one had Curse to Golf circled on their release calendar before it came out, you know?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I saw the trailer for it and I thought, hey, this looks like it could be, a pretty cool sort of
a nice little indie game, and it turned out to be bad.
My experience with discovering Curse to Golf was, oh, this game is coming out. Oh, it's already out. Oh, it sucks. Like in one set of scrolling on Twitter,
because there was like aspects of I don't know if it was like the movement or the kind of graphical style, but I got some sort of feeling like, oh, maybe the developer of this like really like Super Meat Boy and decided to ape some part of that into this kind of golfing game, and hey, yeah, using 2D golf and this kind of like 2D platforming sort of element to it. So yeah, this ain't quite interesting there. But just completely like conceptually understood what they wanted to do, but mechanically just completely failed at it. And I was disappointed with it because I guess only just for my own like internal hype, I thought that the trailer and the presentation of it certainly misled me to what it actually ended up being. So I'm not going to push back to say that it shouldn't come off now, but I would say for myself, I would consider myself disappointed with this one.
Yeah, but it's you're not heartbroken.
No,
you're not
I'm
like,
not.
My year hinged on Curse to Golf.
My week did. I'll say that much.
Yeah. You were cursed to golf. I'll tell you that much.
Okay, Barry.
I will go on this one for Scorn. Scorn was right up my alley. Horror, spooky, first person,
same,
Geiger inspired. But like all the trailers and stuff for it was like, oh, that looks like weird and gross and stuff, and I'll be interested. I don't know if people were like champing at the bit to see the game aspect of it. I feel like people were very trepidatious about it, and then when it came out, I mean, it does already have a little bit of a cult following. I did like an unintentional Garrett method on this game where I was streaming some of it, and after about 20 minutes, I was like, fuck this fucking game. I can't figure out anything. The visual language of the design of that game is so goddamn horrible. Where the color palette, and I'm trying to do a puzzle.
Brown.
It's really brown. It's like I'm trying to do a puzzle. I'm like, I can't even make the distinction between these pieces I'm supposed to be sorting out. Like, what am I doing?
Not only that, but like, even if you like, depending on what your settings are, so like, even if you can see everything very clearly, the nature of the puzzles in the game are so, we've talked about it before. Yeah, we've talked about it before with like the point and clicks whenever they get nominated and stuff like that. It's very much the like, it only makes sense when you already know the solution. So like, as somebody who loves puzzle games, who loves point and click adventures and loves all the stuff you were saying about like the horror, the first person shooter and things like that, the stuff that had me really intrigued, this was one I nominated, is because going in is like, even the puzzle mechanics are dog shit. The fucking shooting is dog shit. Like, and it doesn't, like you said, because of those, how like dull and dark and samey everything looks, the one thing it had going for it, like, we didn't see how the game played around, like, but building up to it was the aesthetic, and they didn't even land the aesthetic in the end. Like, I wouldn't say I was going, Scorn's gonna be my game of the year when it comes out or anything like that, but the fact that like they couldn't get anything remotely passable about it. If we had a category that was most boring game of the year, this might be it.
The thing is, well, you mentioned the shooting there, because I was on a podcast around the time that came out, and the guy was talking about that, like, it seems like the shooting mechanics were this real last minute thing put in, whether it was like at the whim of the publisher or just the developers felt like that they had to put that in there because they couldn't stay like true to their convictions of like, all right, this is more of a kind of walk-in simulator sort of thing, and maybe the game may have still been boring, but at least it didn't then lump on this thing that clearly didn't feel like it was meant to be part of that game. I
don't know if I necessarily agree with that, just because like, I think one of either the first or second thing we ever saw of that game was you loading and shooting your bone gun. Like, it was the bone gun game. It became a meme in and of itself. So I think the first person shooting was always in there, but they just put no fucking thought into it whatsoever. Because I think they wanted all these things in the game, the puzzle mechanic, the shooting mechanic and stuff like that. But they were just like, do you know what? We got the aesthetic nailed, guys. Feet up on the table till this baby's out. That's definitely what it felt like. It felt like every single mechanic in the game, not just the shooting, was just half-baked and weren't bothered their arses.
Yeah, I'd love to, I feel like this type of game I might eventually like watch someone play through it on YouTube, see if there's anything deeper. But like I said, I booted it up and it's just kind of like I couldn't figure anything out.
Yeah,
you're presented with like 4 or 5 different levers in 4 or 5 different rooms, none of which do anything. And then you go to this big central room and you press a button and there's a crane and you have a bird's eye view. I'm like, motherfucker, what the fuck is going on? I am playing SmackDown, shut your mouth instead of this fucking shit. I can't figure this out.
I played it for I think about 4 or 5 hours and they were miserable hours.
Oh, man, that seems like hell.
Yeah, it was like, yes, ironically enough, it was hell. It was sinfully boring. Like I look on this list and if it's not number 1 for me, it's number 2. Like it's one or the other. Definitely in terms of like the other thing I would have very high on the list, I've played less of. So I'm more mad at this game.
I suppose it sounds like, because it seems like we're all pretty if you either haven't played it or are super negative on it. I suppose this is one of those things, and we have these every year where it's like it comes down to what was the hype level on it, I guess is the question that determines whether or not we cut this or keep it. Personally, I was curious on it, but not hype for it is my thing.
I'm sensing the temperature in the room that I'm the most riled up about this. So I'm happy to see it go if no one else is there with it.
For me, like I see things on this list that go before Scorn.
Okay.
And I do
you in particular, I think, Mark.
Yeah.
And
I'm so excited.
I know I do feel like because the reviews for this thing this is one of the most fascinating games of the year purely from the review aspect, because it was up and down. Like this and Sonic Frontiers are like the 2 games where it was just like throw a dart at the board and see what happens.
I remember the day this game launched, right? So the Open Critic score comes out before all the reviews are in, and I dropped the link into our chat and I was like, oh, Scorn's good, because like there was a couple of previews like the week it came out where they're like, oh, it's not good. But then the score comes out and it's in like the mid to high 70s, I think it was. And I put that link into our group chat, and then I think within an hour, most of the other reviews had been logged on the page, and that thing fucking sank like a stone. I was like, oh, it sucks. Sorry.
It looks like a mid 2000s PC game.
It really is.
Or like it could be a screensaver. Something that's on the screen as you're going through a maze.
Do you know what it looks like?
No, to man.
It looks like something John Romero would have spent like maybe 6 months on as like a proof of concept, and it went, nah, fuck it, back to Doom.
Or he spent 6 months on it. It's like, I got to color this in. I've got to actually add some color to this. Because when you said it was your number 2, Dave, I was thinking, well, it's brown enough to be number 2. So.
Yeah, it's very, very true.
Well, Barry, how do you feel? Do you want to keep this on, or are you gonna lump it off? Or
I mean, it seems like Dave is the most bullish on this winning, but he also seems happy enough to cut it. Are you happy to cut it, Dave?
Yeah, there's one game I think on this list that I think was more disappointing to a broader segment of people playing games. This is a very, as you kind of said, Barry, it's very niche. Like it depends on the individual. Scorn didn't have the high profile that almost anything else on this list have. So.
No, but it also didn't have as much of the kind of marketing or publishing muscle behind it to get to that level.
I mean, it did get like a few spots on Xbox.
It was a big Microsoft.
True.
Yeah,
that is true.
Yeah, and like that's how Cuphead started, on those sizzle reels and the Xbox conferences. So, but anyway, it's gone. All right. So, Jack.
I mean, get Pokemon off this list immediately.
Nope.
I mean,
there are 2 people on this call who played Pokemon.
Yeah,
both of whom really enjoyed it. So
it was a really good game. It just looked bad, but it was a really good game.
There's been a lot of that sentiment lately. Hey, it just looked like shit. And I'm like, that is part of the game.
Yeah, it is part of the game.
But it's still a really good video game.
You know what? I'm gonna take the stance I've taken for 8 years, which is I don't play these games. So I'm gonna sit back and
I don't play Barry over here. Look at you kids over with your broken ass Pokemon games.
Disappointment that like a Pokemon game come out in this day and age and look like absolute shit, and in terms of like technically perform as bad as it did, and just like it's just leaves just I've played several hours of it, and I'm just like, I can't with how it fucking looks. I just can't fucking enjoy it because I'm seeing some of the most violent texture pops I've seen in years, a frame rate that's all over the fucking shop. Genuinely like Cronenberg-esque horrors from some of the character models doing mad shit all over the gaff.
Scorn could never.
It's just, yeah, like, oh, if only Scorn would do that, it would be fucking interesting. You know what I mean? And this is what.
Oh, so you're saying Pokemon's interesting? That's what I hear for you right now, Dave.
As well.
No, because as well, behind it all, it's.
I mean, a violent car crash is interesting. That does make it good.
Yeah, like
but does it make it a disappointment?
Yeah, I mean, like, what if someone you really hated was in that car crash?
And again, like this is one of the most subjective categories we do. Like I, as somebody who really enjoys Pokemon games and wants to play every single one that comes out, gets this, and like for somebody who has been playing since Gen 1, every single generation the whole way up, to have turned me off a mainline Pokemon game within 3 to 4 hours is. It's fucking textbook disappointment.
I think
it doesn't get more disappointing than that. I love Pokemon so much, and this game is such a piece of shit to handle that I couldn't persist through it. And I persist.
Didn't even buy it.
Exactly.
It's my first one in.
Do you know what I mean? Like
that's
like, to me, at the very least, that balances out your relative enthusiasm, because you're enthusiastic, even though you're also saying, yes, it does handle like dog shit as well.
Handle, I wouldn't say, but it has visual problems.
I think
it plays fine.
I think an interesting caveat on this particular category for Pokemon, again, as an independent observer here, is that like this is actually before Scarlet. Because again, I haven't played a Pokemon game since the fucking Game Boy, right? So I'm just like an outside observer. It's actually for Arceus. I was thinking, should I fucking get this fucking game just to talk about it on the podcast? I haven't played one of these in decades at this stage. And I was looking on, I just watched I watched like Giant Bomb, Quick Lock and stuff like that, just get a vibe for it. And I was like, this is the biggest media property on the planet.
Yeah.
Why the fuck does it look like that? Why does it look like that? Why? And this was the good one that came out this year. And I was like, why does it look like that? I mean, look, Switch, whatever. Everyone's had the conversation many times. It's old. We get it. It doesn't have to look like that.
No.
It doesn't have to look like that.
I remember, like,
and I know Game Freak are being squeezed somewhat harshly.
And also, no one forced them.
At the end of the day.
No one forced them to put that fucking windmill in. All right,
yeah,
that was their choice to do that.
And Garrett, like, I totally get what you were saying, that like there was a period when this game came out where we were passing ships on the podcast, so we never actually had a one-to-one conversation about Scarlet and Violet. But like, I remember you saying about like how much you admired the fucking ambition of the game. But again, like going back to what Barry said about the creaking hardware on the Switch, like how do you not know this thing is gonna fucking like start smoldering and bursting into flames when you try to do anything on it?
Especially first party, you know.
And we're still saying, yes, there are some games that show the age and show the creak on the Switch at the moment, but there are still like some incredible visual experiences being delivered on Switch, because you have a game being put out that understands its limits, pushes things as far as the limits will go. But Pokemon pushed things to the limit and then went, you know what, we'll just sprint another fucking 100 yards past that line to fuck with whatever happens afterwards. It's profoundly fucking disappointing from, as Barry said, a property, a legacy IP so fucking huge. If a fucking, like, if Mario Odyssey had come out and been like this, they'd be fucking rioting in the streets.
I think that's an interesting point. Is that all these kind of like, it's not the worst, or it's like this is Pokemon. Come on, let's
but like, it is still a good video game. That's the thing.
Game, yeah.
Like you can argue that, and I agree about all the technical issues because they're right there in front of your face. But it is a good video game. Like the way you hear the discourse about this game, you would think it is literally an unplayable heap of garbage that is no fun whatsoever, and that's not the case.
But I think, this is where it gets. This is where it gets.
Good game can still be disappointing.
But first of all, that's also true as well. It's not worst game of the year. I think disappointing is what. But also, it's got. I think there's this stuff will bother people to varying degrees.
Yes.
But I think there's a distinction being made between the performance and the stuff that matters. The performance can matter, and for example, it's not in this category. I don't want to derail things, but I had a lot of fun playing 2 hours of Kirby. But I'm sorry, those dudes 3 feet from your character moving at half frame rate. That makes me want to play it less. Do you know what I mean? This is an aesthetic vibe-based game Yeah, half the vibes are ruined by this fucking dog shit presentation.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Barry gets his 4K TV, and now he's just like, I can't.
I played that on
Mr.
stream.
Digital Foundry over here.
The whole idea is you want to like spend time, ruminate, and enjoy a world like this that you're in. But when I can't get more than 5 minutes in without an NPC like clipping through my face, T-posing, that I'm just like, oh fuck, like I just couldn't do it. And like maybe it's a thing where like I remember talking about it at the time. Maybe it's a Fallout 4 type thing where I'm going to put this thing down for a year. I will come back to it when it's fucking fixed, and I'll be like, it's pretty good. But like, I don't think
Fallout one of these days. Dave,
I remember we all had a great laugh when, myself included, when Fallout 4 came out, and there was people like, "Oh, but no, the game is still good." It's like, it doesn't fucking matter. The thing is like,
it's not as bad as Fallout 4 was, though, is it? It's nowhere near that.
But in terms of but also in terms of relative, but also in terms of relative expectation, it's for better or worse. You expect games to come out like that from Bethesda. You don't from fucking Pokemon.
And also, that's not the argument.
What makes you think you don't from Pokemon when Arceus released this year? And like this looks comparable to Arceus. You can't be going in being like
it's worse than
only
Arceus.
Marginally. It's only marginally. Go back and play that. You were giving out about the weird purple rocks and Arceus.
But this conversation happened about Arceus also. So is that much of an excuse when Arceus came out and people were saying, "What's up with this N64 bullshit I'm looking at?" Like,
and as Barry kind of alluded to,
you can't reasonably come into this game and say I expected it to be a visual powerhouse. But the last game they released in January was
visual powerhouse, good or not better, not worse.
Is it fair to say that Pokemon will stay for now on this?
No, it will. Yes.
Yes.
And Dave, maybe you should suggest something else.
No, like there's
and there's two people here that want it on at least.
One of whom didn't play it.
Yeah.
I don't want to run off. I'm not.
You can't. Yeah. He didn't play it because of the issues we were talking about. Huge Pokemon fan, Mark Robinson. Like
I didn't play it because I think Pokemon's
in this case, and based on the line of argument, you can't discount based on the fact that he didn't play it.
I'm going to do some politics here, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I love politics. Go on.
Pokemon's coming off, but Tunic is coming off because I refuse to have
What kind of deal is that?
Yeah, that's
what kind of deal is that?
No, it's not. Also, because this might be Garrett's number one with a bullet.
No. Come on, Garrett.
Not happening. No, we don't. We don't make those trades.
Hang on. If I understand the rules correctly, gentlemen, Dave, as the man who objected to this coming off, can suggest something else. He's the man who's just Mark with this Tunic bullshit.
Yeah, I would take 2 tracks as an alternate for you, Jack. Here, one would be, I suppose if you want to get technical about it, you could say PS Plus because it's not a game. Service, and you know what I mean. Like, it is disappointing, but like for 8 years, this has been an exclusively a game gets nominated for this, as opposed to a service or an industry practice. And I would want to protect this category from taking the bleed over from our discontinued category that we spoke about earlier.
Dave, off the top of your head, can you name the 3 tiers and what they do?
I can.
I like PS Plus, even though I understand your qualms about it in this category. I like it as a nominee because if you put me on the spot and just ask me the question, what's the most disappointing gaming thing this year, I would say that. So
same.
The other alternate, maybe I would say, is Horizon Forbidden West, just because it's just another one of those, and not in the way that the other one on this list that's just another one of those is. The people who like Horizon still really fucking enjoy that. The people who didn't already like Horizon are coming into Horizon going, oh yeah, it's literally just another one of those.
I mean, I love this first Horizon game, and I'm super bored, and I am really disappointed by this new one. Not to bring us to a standstill or a stalemate on this, but
five-way tie.
I was super bummed by that new Horizon. I've tried about 17 different times to sit down and say, fucking right, come on, we're sitting here, we're playing this game. I'm gonna have some fun with this game. If it fucking kills me, and it never happens, like, it's just so hard.
The thing that I will say on your side of things, Barry, is that it has one of the things I hate the most in video games, which is if you just play it for X amount of hours, then it gets real good. That's what everybody who enjoys it has said. And it's like, you need to get past like a 10-hour wall or something like that. I don't know if it's 10 hours. Somebody said to me what the arbitrary number is. And look, it is true that the more I've tried to persist through it, the more I've enjoyed it, because it stops like doing bullshit hand-holdy things and starts opening up. Like, because all I want to do is like mill around in that world, kill some robot dinosaurs. And once the game fucking lets me do that, it kind of rocks. So like, I think maybe it's the reverse of the no man's land between ham sandwich and game of the year. It's Horizon is mildly disappointing because it's just number one of those. Is it the most disappointing thing in this list? Is it number one? I really don't think so.
That's probably fair. I'm super disappointed by it, but if I look at this list, I guess I can't fight. I don't think it's going to stay.
The argument Dave just made for Horizon would also be true if he carried on playing Pokemon as well.
No, because it still wouldn't look. Because it still wouldn't look any better, and that's my problem.
What if Horizon 3 they had like 50 little cute, and here look, it's a squirrel with a bin bag on it. It's Blanco, the squirrel.
You can shoot it with a bow.
70 quid, please.
Yeah. Now, Jack,
also, we've cut the frame rate in half.
Yeah, Jack, if you're telling me like you get through 4 hours and it just all of a sudden randomly snaps to a buttery smooth 60 frames per second with some of the most like photorealistic, my God, that Gengar looks like it's in the fucking room.
All right.
Without
getting back into the Pokemon,
you haven't mentioned anything else. You got one argument on.
I think we're saying goodbye to Horizon.
Deal breaker.
Are we saying goodbye to Horizon?
Yes, we are.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm keeping.
Oh, it's gonna be a Pokemon session. Oh my God.
Usually it takes us till we get to best music for this to happen. We're just fucking
Which Pokemon is into?
I see. You know what I think it is? I think like the Randy Pitchford Bobby Kotick Award kind of unified us for the first category, and now it's just like daggers out straight away.
Yeah, I just can't believe it. I mean, just because something
it's too good a game to be biggest disappointment.
It's so good.
It's too good a game. It's like it's a legitimately excellent game
in a different way.
Yeah, a fucking deal breaking one. It doesn't matter
for you. Rather than two other people, the only two who finished the game on this call are like, very good video game.
So
good game, yeah.
And not just like, it was all right, it's a very good video game.
And it gets super weird.
I'm getting higher pitched. My Cork accent's coming out. I'm getting so worked up about Pokemon.
Two people who are disappointed by it is immediately discounted by two people who thought it was good.
Hey, one didn't play
deadlock. Let's move on.
I didn't play it. I didn't play it because of what I read and saw and everything about it.
Mark does buy all those games.
Which is profoundly disappointing. Like for
Still
him,
didn't play it.
So
you can't. Hang
on. You can't. That's not fair. Yeah. If you look at reviews and preview coverage and say, "Damn, that looks like shit," and then you don't buy it, that doesn't go against you.
Unless Mark didn't buy it and it turns out it didn't look like shit, which it does. So,
but what if Mark loves it?
Wait, what?
I think Mark would really like the game. Just saying.
He would.
But the thing is, I could still like the game, but everything Dave is saying there, I feel, and it is how I feel even without playing it, makes me feel disappointed about it. And
you can't,
because here's the thing: Dave isn't saying that he thinks it's a bad game.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what he's saying. He's saying all of these things here that are adding to this experience that is making him disappointed.
Yes.
At no point has he said this is a bad game.
Nope.
No.
But you're judging a game on a single thing. You're not saying that the whole of the game is disappointing. You're like, a part of the game is disappointing, which is fair. It is. It's demonstrably true.
A single element of a game can make it massively disappointing.
But most disappointing game of the year?
It's not worst. It's certainly not fucking 5th or 6th on the list here. Like, there are games that can go off before this.
I'm shocked Chocobo GP is still here to be
sorry,
Chocobo GP doesn't do it on that
Final
list.
Fantasy bird racing thing? What?
It sucks, though.
It's fucking diabolical.
It sucks. But like, listen, I'm stunned somebody hasn't booted it yet.
I think we just forgot it was on there because it's just like at the bottom.
Yeah. But I couldn't care enough about Chocobo to be disappointed.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where I was like, who was hyped about it?
All Chocobo
take shots at me. Don't. If you go back and listen to one of the last episodes we did last year, that I was a guest on before I was invited, I was like, "Oh, Chocobo GP! Oh, look at this Final Fantasy racing game! Just let me race around Midgar." Then I opened the game, and it's like, "Here's your 15 different free-to-play currencies, even though this is a $60 game, and it also doesn't play particularly well." And I wanted to die inside.
If you needed to see.
Buy currency, you can buy mithril.
60 quid. That thing
if
is
you
60,
needed to see
it was a full release. It was a full $60 Square Enix release that has like 7 different currencies that unlock things in a season pass.
What
and all
a
that
weird
shit.
company! What a weird company.
Disappointing to me than Pokemon, because everything that interacts with Square and Final Fantasy is usually good. Like, it's usually polished. They spend years and years developing these games. I might not like it in the case of Final Fantasy VII. I didn't like what they did, but I don't.
It's a big, polished, fully featured game.
Exactly. Whereas this was just like, there's maybe like 4 or 5 tracks at most, Garrett, right? It plays confusingly slowly. Like, how slow does this game feel when you're playing it? There's just, instead of any genuine peril or like details in the tracks that make you try harder to put you off, they just throw tires at you occasionally. Like, here's a fucking tire, have some of that. And that's like the whole gimmick of like anything that gets in your way in this game. Yeah, if you want to unlock all the cool GFs, like Shiva and stuff, you have to grind for Mithril. I don't want to grind for Mithril. I don't.
Do you know what?
I don't want to pay for Mithril either.
I think like this game almost, I don't find disappointing, but it's only because like in my kind of cynical eyes, I see like this is how a good portion of the video game industry wish they could just make games and release, and they'd be this, you know, like there is not hey, there are plenty of developers out there who are earnest, who just want to make good games, and the creative, the artistic kind of nature of it and everything else. Like, but there is a portion of the industry that just wants to fart out this kind of thing and just, you know, be done with it. So I guess I'm not disappointed because it's just, you know.
You really do see both sides of that all the time from Square Enix in particular, where it's like they'll release this like really good RPG with fantastic visuals, or they'll dig up Alive out of the vault and for after 25 years and really do it justice. And then they'll just do shite like this, where they'll fart this thing out with the worst free-to-play mechanics you've ever seen in a $60 game. Like, I don't think there's a more egregious example of those free-to-play mobile mechanics being shoved into a full-priced game, I think, ever. Like, it's so egregious what they did with the monetization of this game.
It's on the main menu. Buy a Mithril. Like, no, I don't want to. I don't even want to unlock
$60.
But on the flip side, Pokemon is the biggest IP in the world, and it fired out that thing visually. So
it's like top 5 game of the year.
Yeah, it was like a really good game though.
It rocks. It's legitimately great.
Actually good. Like
Chocobo GP that's my main problem against it being disappointed. It is for me legit a top 5 game of the year. It's fantastic.
It's easily in my top 10 games of the year. It was so good.
This first category is going to be a good test case of will we need the public vote in this 5%, because we've got 2 versus 2, and I would happily abstain on Pokemon, so we may need to go to a public vote on.
Okay. Well, it's still Dave, right?
Yes.
And we accept
it's Jack. It's Jack, but I stood in the way and blocked Pokemon from coming off.
Okay. So we eventually suggested Horizon, and I think we're all happy on that.
Yeah. I'm fine with Horizon.
It should be better. Please stop putting 17 skill trees in games. Oh my fucking god.
Can I talk about God of War now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it Mark again? Is it on to Mark?
It's on to Mark now.
Okay. Actually, look, I'm gonna try and I'm gonna tread the water and see what happens here. I feel like part of the reason, and maybe it's my own fault, someone will tell me otherwise. I feel like part of the reason that Tunic is on here is because when it came out, I fucking shouted from the hilltops for about 3 weeks on the podcast about how this was my game of the year at the time. It has slipped down ever so slightly to position number 3, but it's still in my top 3. And I feel like that may have been on top of, you know, of people's like flavors and particulars that they enjoy when it comes to certain aspects of how the game lays out its puzzles and its mechanics. And like for me, a lot of the frustration in like a lot of that game where it doesn't show you parts of its world, for me, are no different than Elden Ring, where like, and you know, From Software are the top tier of like, we don't care if you see everything this game has to offer, you know, like however much you see is like up to you and how much effort you want to put in, but we don't care if you see everything. Tunic is exactly the same. Like there is a whole part of that game that you do not have to see to finish the game. And, you know, like, but if you want to put the time in, if you want to establish and figure out that the user manual actually is in itself a puzzle mechanic, which I think is a masterpiece in terms of creativity and interesting design. But I also do understand that it's a very incredibly frustrating thing to try and figure out. And yes, some of it does feel undecipherable at points, and sometimes it feels like the game is just a little bit up its own ass. But I am able to look past that, and maybe it's just purely from a design perspective. I look at that and I think, to be able to create that's a really fucking interesting thing. And then just on top of that as well, I think the world is this incredibly ethereal, mystical, visually and sonically, just such there's a mystique to that world. that I just got utterly absorbed in for like the 15 odd hours that I played with it.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I feel like it being disappointing is and people voting for it is somewhat on me for how much of, not to say that I am the fucking sole person that screamed about this game, because I know when it came out, people reviewed it.
It had some hype. It had some hype.
Yeah, I think you're right in as much as the people who are really into Tunic did the game no favors, because whereas I wouldn't call it my number one most disappointing of the year, there was definitely a sense of people were really into Tunic. They said it was rad. It looks pretty damn good. And then you kind of get a couple of hours into it and you're kind of like, right, okay.
I don't think I helped because I said I prefer this to Death's Door. That I think was my
no. You see,
that annoyed me. That annoyed me.
It wasn't even that. It was actually just the Death's Door comparisons that really put it into disappointing for me. Not even that, like, just to compare them side to side, but everyone when this came out was like, "This is this year's Death's Door," and that was my 2021 game of the year. So, like, I came into this game putting it next to my game of the year from 2021. And it does a lot of the things Death's Door does.
But it's a different game. It's a different game.
But you see, the other thing it has is like the manual. That's the other thing everyone talks about when they talk about Tunic. They're like, oh, it's the Zelda-like Death's Door combat, and it has the manual. And I hate that manual with a deep, seething passion. Oh my God. Because every single time they show you like a reveal, it's like, oh, there was a shortcut there you didn't know about that they tell you about after you've done a section. So like you'll do a section and then you'll beat a section, it'll give you a page of the manual. It's like, oh, did you know there was actually a shortcut where you could have avoided that whole section? I'm like, well, fuck you for just wasting my time with your bullshit. And the puzzle solutions, I would want to punch somebody in the face.
Do you know what the manual is? It's do you remember the show in the 90s, Magic's Greatest Secrets Revealed, where you see something and like the magician looks like he's struggling through it, and then afterwards they go, oh no, you could have just done it this way. Like it was it was like a worked head he cut off. Is this your number one, Garrett? Or
it's up there because like the puzzles drive me bonkers as well, because with puzzles you should either be able to intuit it, or when you look up the actual solution you should go, oh, I'm stupid. You know, that should be your reaction to most puzzles. I played Return to Monkey Island this year, and that was my reaction to most puzzles. That game is an awesome hint system as well, by the way. But like when you play through that game, you know, you either work it out and you feel good about yourself, or you look at the puzzle and you have one of two reactions when you look at the solution. You either go, oh, aha, oh yeah, I'm stupid for not working that out, or that's a bunch of fucking bullshit. No one in their right mind would ever work that out. And when you look at some of the puzzle solutions in this game, nobody would work that out. Everybody looked them up. It's like stand in front of this door, press up, down, left, right, up, down, left, right. You have to work out all those inputs by solving 17 different puzzles. That's just fucking bullshit. That's not a puzzle.
Do you know what it is? It's the, you know, I'll make a FromSoft comparison. Is, you know, those walls that you have to strike like a very precise amount of times to get rid of them. Whereas in Elden Ring, that's a nice little Easter egg. In Tunic, it's a feature.
Well, no,
but you never have to hit a wall to advance in Elden Ring, as opposed to this, which is like,
don't even bother with the Elden Ring comparison. Just go straight back to the original Legend of Zelda. Like, there are things that you have to strike in that game that, you know, there is a way to find out, but you have to talk to like some old guy at the other end of the fucking map who, you know, will tell you in some cryptic bullshit like 2 lines that doesn't actually make any sense.
And there's a good reason Zelda games aren't like that anymore.
No, exactly.
I was going to say,
haven't been like that for a very long time.
Yeah, I know. And this
that
is the
first game is not that good.
Because this is the thing. I was writing my top 10 blog, and I was saying that like Tunic for me is probably like a game that invokes a lot of feelings that, you know, children probably had playing the original Legend of Zelda for the first time, where it's like there's this incredibly like you know, magical world to explore, but also at the same time some of these puzzles, what the fuck, this is ridiculous. We have the advantage of YouTube and whatnot else now. I think that while I am completely able to look at this from an objectivity of like, some of those puzzles are bullshit, and some of it is either, and you know, myself, some of those puzzles I completely did through sheer brute force. I think there's still a level of creativity that bypasses all of that enough for me. That I think calling this the most disappointing game of the year, I feel that's just very harsh for this game.
For the sake of us finally starting to move on in this godforsaken category, can I just say that my temperature in the room is that like Garrett is very passionately not a Tunic guy, Mark is very passionately a Tunic guy, and the other 3 of us don't really give a fuck about Tunic.
I was not as passionate as Garrett, but I was pretty let down by Tunic. One thing I would say is for this category, I don't think I'd fight for it to be the winner.
I don't think it is.
Earlier in the year, I was kind of thinking Tunic might be the most fucking disappointing.
So
but since then, I've
the little fox guy is cute.
He's a cute little fox.
Yeah. Sorry, Garrett. It's a cute fox.
A cute little fox that didn't actually.
I have a Tunic t-shirt that I was gonna when I went to Cardiff with Mark. I was gonna wear a Tunic t-shirt just to live a little bit.
Psychological warfare.
The t-shirt arrived the day I got back. I was so upset.
And an hour in, Garrett works on levels I was not expecting.
And I'm wearing the Tunic shirt right now.
Yeah, I didn't expect such a charming and polite man normally on the podcast to be so no, fuck you,
psychopath.
Like when Pokemon or Tunic gets mentioned. Right, so then it's me. If we're all happy to see Tunic go at this stage.
Okay.
I'm gonna come back round to something I said earlier on, and that is that I am for what this category is and our rules typically are, I'm not happy having a service nominated for what is I know it's a disappointing thing, and I think we should talk about it now. But this category, and even in the rules in the category in our spreadsheet where we track it all year, says games. And this would not, for me, in my process of putting this on the form, I would not have even put it on here were not for the fact that more than one of us put it on the list. So I wanted to have the conversation, give it its burial, but it shouldn't be on this list because this list is games exclusively.
Yeah, but the problem is a bunch of the games that you want to play, you can't play through local emulation. You have to do through their bullshit cloud service because some 15 odd years ago, some fucking halfwit decided to make the PS3 as incomprehensible to design as possible.
Yeah, look, I wouldn't.
And here we are.
Not for a second going to if this was most disappointing thing and we were opening it up to kind of absorb part of the other category that we got rid of, absolutely, it's probably number one with a bullet. Again, I've had PS Plus since Jesus knows when, and I got rid of it this year. I tried the new the bump up because they sent everybody the emails going, for the rest of your subscription it only costs £20 to bump up to the top tier for the rest of the year. So I'll give it a go, and yeah, it just wasn't really fucked, to be honest, with it. So it is definitely a very, very disappointing thing. It would definitely have finished high in the Konami Corner award of old before actual crime came into it. But
technically, this is disappointment of the year, not disappointing game of the year.
But it has always been, and again, in the rules on the category on the spreadsheet, it says games must have been released.
This has been a year where we've really gone to the letter of the law on the category.
I think.
Don't you start on Live Alive yet, sir?
But I also think I don't want to set the precedent that stuff that isn't games come into this award, because then I think 3 or 4 years down the line we end up in the same trouble we were with the last category that got rid of it, where we then start opening out disappointing things within the game industry. And
you say that, but I'm not going to say if some fucking publisher or developer, whatever, turns out to be a pedophile, I'm not going to be disappointed by that. I'm going to be
thrilled about it. Yeah, I really don't think it should be in this category. Look, I know you put you put it in here and people are going to want to vote for it in terms of how disappointing it is relative to other things on the list. And I'm sure when we go to the public poll, it will reflect that. But my argument is it shouldn't be on the fucking list in the first place because it's not a game. And that's what this category is by our rules.
I will hold off only on the basis that I have not had PS Plus this whole time and I hate God of War Ragnarok more. So there. Fine.
Again, I don't think I think everybody's just fuck it.
I think this is the biggest disappointment of the year, but I think you've made a fair. It's not a game, so if you want to take it up on those
disappointment of the year as well, Barry. To be honest,
but I also I think Dave, it's fair. Like I said, for behind the scenes for listeners, we've done a lot of debating about what goes in what category this year, and if we want to be fair, this isn't a game. Everything else in it is a game. So, but we'll give it a dishonorable mention. It sucks. I mean, it's really bad. And not only that, but
they've lost subscribers this year from it.
They lost subscribers. They chose to not put their first party stuff on there, which was kind of expected. But if you're not going to do that, you got to come with the heavy hitters on the little indie gems, the things that make Game Pass what it is.
Yeah.
you know, the Tunics, the Ninja Turtles, the Norcos, the XYZ stuff you'd never even heard of until it showed up on Game Pass, and they just did not do that at all.
I find it extremely.
Stray could have been on this list, to be honest with you.
I find it extremely funny that like Game Pass is there. The roadmap map that is Game Pass is there, and they keep fucking stepping on rakes trying to do Game Pass without doing Game Pass.
And as Mark alluded to earlier as well, one of the more impressive aspects of their library is the PS3 stuff. It's actually an okay list of games, but it's basically useless because like not only is it streaming, which is rocky at the best of times, of all the comparable streaming services like Game Pass Ultimate and Stadia, rest in peace, I've had the worst performance of PlayStation Plus, and it's like this is with a wired Ethernet connection going straight into my console. I'm not doing this on a phone or something.
I have actually
really bad.
I have found in general my my PS5 is more temperamental with anything internet related than my PS4 was.
Really? Okay.
Like I find it difficulty doing the little connection thing to the EA servers for FIFA, which is literally like we just want to check in and see if there's been a squad update. Almost every time I boot up that game, it's like, oh, can't find the EA servers. You're offline. I'm fucking not. So yeah, there's some weird shit going on under the hood there, which is not necessarily something we haven't heard before about Sony hardware, but yeah, it's definitely, look, yes, it is an incredibly disappointing thing, and you know, rest in piss with the amount of fucking subscribers it's dropping. Well deserved, big deserved in the chat for PS Plus, hemorrhaging subscribers. Next up is Garrett, and I want the real maverick pick of Garrett going God of War. Come off the list and leaving his two favorite properties on the list. That's the move I'm expecting from this guy this year.
My 2 hours with God of War today, literally today, broke my heart. I just couldn't tolerate. No, I'm still take Pokemon off this list. Top 5 game of the year.
Yeah. I'm cool with it finishing in the final 3 because I don't think deadlock wise, I'm myself or Mark are pushing it over the line. I don't think it would be fair for like either you two guys to have eliminated it too early or for us to have like pushed it by ourselves.
I mean,
unless Barry went rogue and.
I mean, I don't want to play my hand too hard here, but fuck God of War Ragnarok. So
yeah,
there you go.
Get Pokemon out of here. What a great game.
Pokemon
It's
out
just
of here.
a really fun game. Like the open world and everything that they designed, even though like it obviously doesn't.
Everything that they designed?
Everything that they designed it to
Let
be,
me tell you about the quality of the coats.
Worked.
The textures in the coats.
The textures of the Pokemon were like the only good looking thing about the game. But
the coats.
It does have LeChonk, all right? I get that. It does have that going for it. And Fido. I understand this.
There's 3 main story threads, like 3 main strands, instead of there just being one. And they all work together really nicely. And they all kind of work around your central companions within the game. And they come together at the end into like a really cool final quest when you all go on an adventure together. Which is just
with some sensational plot twists, with truly really top-notch,
strange, like trippy plot twists that I know Mark and Dave would actually quite enjoy.
Yeah. Oh, look, I got
look,
Jack. I again, this whole time I've acknowledged it. Like, once they fucking fix how this game looks, I am sure I will enjoy it. But the fact that I wasn't able to spend my Christmas playing a mainline Pokemon game for the first generation since I was a literal child, like that was where my anger was coming from.
It still doesn't excuse a company that has, you know, more money than a bunch of countries have a classroom full of students that are all animating at different frames per second. That is not
well, they're all
acceptable.
kicking their feet at different speeds, Mark. It's just very realistic.
When I kick my feet, I kick my feet slower than say Mark.
Anyway, I do kick my feet at 15.
we got rid of it. Move on.
It's off.
Okay.
Get out of here,
so
Pokemon.
now as usual, we're down to 2. So we've had the Chocobo GP promo, and now it's time for Mr. God of War Sucks, Mark, to talk about God of War before we just go to a straight up vote.
In some ways, I'm not actually disappointed by this game because I did actually get to some degree what I was expecting, which was a version of a game that, and I remember talking about God of War 2018 at the time, I think on Game of the Year, where at that point 4 years ago, that game was doing a lot of the AAA design tropes that I was starting to get sick of, and have proceeded to get just as egregious over the years. And God of War Ragnarok has all of those design tropes, and then has bolted on a gazebo on top of that, and then extended the game by another 10 hours. A game that does
Can I just
not
say
deserve...
before you continue, I played this game for 2 hours and I shimmied under rocks at least 15 times. It drove me nuts. And like you doing your whole continuous shot thing. And like when the whole point of that is immersion. Like you're supposed to be fully immersed. But when you make me do the shimmying between rocks, I see the loading. I'm not stupid anymore. Everyone understands what's happening here.
Yeah. The thing that one of the immersion breaking things for me, we were talking about it last week, Garrett, was this, or was it you and me? I think it was you and me that I was talking about it with, where it was the bit where Boy it does a very transparent, like, oh, hey, look, is that a key to the battle arena from the last game? Maybe we'd like to go there and do the same thing again. Like it, I was just like, wow. My thing about this that I don't think, again, based on the passion of earlier on, it's not my number one necessarily for game of the year. And I have for the last several weeks drawn the comparison with Horizon Forbidden West, where when the original Horizon came out and the last God of War came out, the people who really liked both of those games were like, from a sequel, all I need is more of that. And what we got with both of those sequels was more of that. And it turns out that isn't what we wanted. And the thing I think that's most egregious for me in God of War is that the bits that hit still really fucking hit real good. But what they've done is they've elongated the stretches of fucking nothing between that. I don't think so far in my experience, the pacing of
this game is all over the fucking shop.
Really bad.
Again, like you take a fine edit to that, and you've got an unbelievable 8-hour game. You know what I mean? But like they have just pulled this as far as it can, stretched it to keep those like big tentpole set piece moments apart, and haven't filled the gaps in between with stuff that is anything more than busy work. And while I'm still kind of milling around, it's been a classic like podcast game for me, where those quiet bits in between, I'm just listening to something while I'm just, tinkering away at a side quest here or there. It's not the most upset by a game I've been this year, but I kind of like, I almost get more disappointed during the cool action set pieces, because like, why can't it just be all like this? That would be great. Because you want to talk about strong starts to a game this year. It might be the best start to a game I've played all year.
Everything up until like that fight with Thor is incredible. But I tell you what, the first time it introduced, and obviously, look, most of the puzzles in this game are part of like, superfluous side quests or whatever. Like they aren't necessary. But the first time it shows you one of those fucking chests where you've got to find like the three parts to it that you have to fling the axe at. Which is not a puzzle. It's just look at the thing, throw an axe at it, make the symbols match up. The fact that they added that, and the only, I think, thing that they extended onto
Sorry, go on.
The only thing they extended onto that from like the aspect of like a puzzle is like, all right, instead of throwing the axe, now you throw like the
blades of chaos,
and you have to set a thing on fire instead. That's the only thing. It's like there is no actual thing where you're making me stand here and thinking about, how do I do this? It's just throw the thing.
And there is some of those like little bit of thinky puzzles, but instead of like, those little thinky puzzles are cool in some Sony first party stuff. Like I love a good Uncharted puzzle. But some of these, like there's one in particular about 5 hours in where you go through a series of puzzles that involve you throwing the axe to freeze a waterway to spin a wheel.
Right, I remember that.
Those ones are kind of like, okay, I do the first one. Okay, that's kind of cute. It took me a while. Like it wasn't, I don't need things handed to me, but it also wasn't like, it was like, I was literally just flinging the axe around to see what happened and kind of just brute forced my way through it. And I was like, yeah, okay, fair enough. I see what you're going for here. And then you go through in those mines, you go through a fucking succession of those puzzles and the islands around the place as well. You're doing that kind of thing. And that game, like the mine section there. Yeah.
It's the Doom Eternal problem where they have a really great idea or a great level, but it just goes on like half an hour to an hour too long.
Yeah. It's like Dave referred to it as a podcast game earlier, and that's such an interesting, like, not intentional criticism, but it kind of it is a criticism. This and Horizon were an incredibly disappointing 1-2 punch this year, because the fucking first party single player big Sony game is supposed to be a fucking cool experience. You mentioned Uncharted or Last of Us. You sit down there and you put your headphones on and you're compelled, and there's set pieces and it's boom, 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 boom. It's like you're saying, up to the Thor point, you're going, excellent, awesome, what a boss fight.
They've done it again, baby.
They've done it again. The lads, they've knocked it out of the park. And then it's like a half hour later, I'm just sitting in a menu and I'm looking at, okay, this armor plate has 2 defense and 1 luck, but this one has 3 luck.
And that thing as well, like,
I'm like, what am I doing here? Is this Destiny? What am I doing? Like, what?
Anything you do in the menu there, at any point did you like add a stat to a bit of armor or sort of? Did any of it feel like it made any difference?
No, because
because
I was gonna say, like, it's more simple. Those upgrades are more simplified than, say, I have it on the brain because I've been playing the PS5 version lately, but The Witcher, where there's way more numbers, but they also do the thing The Witcher does, where it literally green means better, red means worse. So it does simplify it in that way. But in The Witcher, when you're upgrading and changing gear, you can actually feel the benefits of having done so. Where in this, like, I could not tell you a change it makes at all.
Vampire fucking Survivors has more substance in its upgrading than this.
Because it's like for years it was always said that kind of every AAA game for the last 10 years has kind of had, like, it has had the RPG elements sprinkled on top of it. God of War is like the breaking point. God of War 2, where I'm kind of like, now those boring elements that every game have, that's now the core of the game, and the sprinkle is the IP. It's like God of War Ragnarok's skill tree. I'm like 3 hours in, and I've filled everything. This isn't the tree. I've unlocked everything. You're supposed to choose with a skill tree.
Like,
this is the most pointless skill tree, but you've put it in because AAA games have to have a skill tree, and they have to have loose, and they have to have exploration.
All trees are directly straight lines up. I don't know what you mean.
They're just straight lines, and it doesn't,
finely
it doesn't change the way you play. It's super dull. And like I said, you're not being wowed by this incredible Sony experience.
The other thing that doesn't help it, and I think specifically from a me and Mark point of view, but also just like for everybody that it came out the same year as this, doesn't bode well. Like, it does rip FromSoft combat. It's a FromSoft light combat system, right? And now that me and Mark have played Elden Ring, and like, we've done the thing where, like, upgrades and changes of weapons are actually, like, the juice is worth the squeeze on going to find, like, your Bloodhound Fang and upgrading the shit out of that, and it really does make a substantial difference. And the combat has weight to it and things like that. One of the things that I was actually kind of surprised by, that didn't form a centerpiece of what Mark's disappointment was when we talked about it on the podcast, is that just the combat has lost that weight that the last one had. It feels.
But do you think that is because we are post Elden Ring?
This is what I'm thinking. It's impossible to know, because we had like several months of Elden Ring before this game came out. And that's not going to do anyone any favors. But I still really enjoy, like, the story beats. I still really enjoy the moments when that game decides it's going to go up a gear, but it's the bits in between. Like, I would be quite happy of the remaining things on this list to vote for as number one, by virtue of the fact that I have no experience with nor expectation level for Chocobo GP myself.
I mean, look, God of War was a full price game and it didn't have microtransactions.
That's true.
Yeah, it's true. There's an argument to be made.
And I actually like the game. Can I just say, like, I've been finding it difficult to jump in. But
Sorry,
I like the game. I enjoyed the game. I'm a guy that obviously plays a lot of grindy Assassin's Creed games and stuff, so I didn't find the puzzling too egregious. I like the feeling of collecting things in games. I don't know, it just itches that part of my brain.
You're very similar to former host of the show, Brian. Like, sometimes Brian likes the Far Cries and stuff like that, where it's like, all I want from this game is to just, like, scratch a particular itch, mill around, and then I've done my time with it. It's over.
But you mentioned collecting things, by the way, Jack. Shout out to the auto collect button in the menu, where you don't even have to press a button to collect things.
Exactly. You can just
turn that on immediately.
Perfect. That's like the crux of a couple of other things I wanted to say. So the thing about the big Ubi games, though, is that a lot of the time I couldn't care less about the story, with a few exceptions. I think the story of this game is brilliant. I think it's a really good story. I think, you know, the sort of like the final twist of, you know, who the bad guy really is in this game is it's an interesting choice. The way they portray the main antagonist of this game, when a lot of portrayals of the character who is the main antagonist of this game are completely different in media than this, and I think they just took like a really interesting tack with how he is and what he does and the way he goes about it, and I think that it kept me interested and engaged in a lot of it. I can't disagree with, you know, your experience of thinking that there are bits of it that are boring, or, you know, there are bits of it that are...
Do you know what it is, Jack? I think that your evaluation of it is absolutely correct, but it also cuts both ways, doesn't it? Where like your experience of the story being really good, at being a really well written game, can be the reason for you to go, oh, like I didn't find it disappointing because I got something huge out of the game. But at the same time, it can also make you more frustrated that you have to work for sometimes hours to get in between the big beats.
I guess I didn't feel that way when I played it. I actually like the combat in this game. After Elden Ring, it felt like a nice change of pace. It felt like I could actually win in this game. I guess the thing that you said about the skill tree and, you know, the upgrades not meaning all that much. Yeah, you're right. That is a criticism. That's totally fair. But I guess it didn't bother me really, because I was just playing through the game because I was enjoying it, and it didn't feel like I had to go any additional mile to understand or like really challenge myself too much, because some games I'm happy to buy into it for that. But with this game, I kind of accepted pretty early on in the game, I'm probably going to find most of this straightforward, but I don't mind because I'm along for the ride. I'm along for the journey. I think the accessibility options in this game are great as well, and that's something that doesn't really get shouted out a lot.
That's something that Sony do a really good job on the last couple of years, is the accessibility.
Customize your experience to the nth degree. You know, you can make it as difficult and challenging or as straightforward and easy as you want it to be. And I was happy with where I got to with it and just played my way through it. Just thought, yeah, I really like this game, really like the story of it, had a good time with it. Is it my personal game of the year? No, but I think it's a million miles away from being disappointing for me. It didn't have the same impact as God of War 2018. It just didn't, which is totally a reason that I think somebody would probably want to put it on this list, because that game was great. This isn't a great game, but it's a very good game. And much like Dave said, it sits in that sort of delete bit of land between kind of an all right game and a really good game, and it's sort of in that middle area where it's just like occasionally it gets to that point where it could be really good, and then occasionally it gets to that point where it's like kind of dull, but it kind of balances it out to me. It kind of gets to that sort of like 7.5, 8 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, I think that like a lot of my disappointment stems from the fact that it does go through those peaks and valleys. There are times, certainly mentioned with like the opening like hour of the game, you're like, shit, right, we're back on. This is great. But then it immediately follows where you're riding on a yak for an hour and a half. And at that point, I was about ready to quit the game because I was like, this is just grinding to a halt. Then it picks up again. You know, there's a bit where you're having a fight against a fucking giant dog, like from hell. And I was like, all right, we're having a good time here. Then it grinds back to just a crawl again. And then so it like, again, it comes back to just that the game has just a woeful attempt at trying to pace itself. And I had at least 2 or 3 occasions during this game where I was ready to just like throw the towel in, but I was like, just through attrition, I will see this thing through. And while I'm in agreement that, like, yes, it's absolutely tremendous, like this game and Sony as a whole do the whole accessibility thing, I don't think you can take that and say this game is good because of that. For me, games just as a whole should do the accessibility thing.
They definitely should. I also don't think that's what Jack was saying. I think Jack was like, that's a nice little cherry on top.
Yeah,
like,
it is. That's why it talks about it last. It's like, it's not the thing that's going to grab you into the game, unless accessibility is something you're really...
And Sony have been doing that for a while now. Like the last like 5 years or so, Sony first party.
Last of Us is great for the same.
I think part of what makes it such a high finisher in this category, though, is also just the pedigree of the team and the franchise. It's like there's a million AAA games where you boot it up and you go, oh my god, AAA games are all the same. Oh, I'm so sick of this. And I mean, that's a huge problem. You know, for the last hour and the next however many hours people are going to listen to this, we're going to be talking about a lot of not AAA games and how great they are. And there's a lot of AAA fatigue. And I think there's just something super disappointing about, because the first God of War game was that Sony experience I was talking about, where you locked yourself away and you dove in and it's great. And for me, I was just playing this, and maybe it's just the straw that broke the camel's back, and we're kind of punishing Ragnarok for the sins of the industry for the last 10 years. But I was just like, okay, here's a big, obvious fake arena that I'm going to be locked in, and enemies. I really hate to constantly compare things to Elden Ring all the time. But instead of going into a bespoke location where all the enemies are placed in a very particular place for a very particular reason, because they do a certain thing and they attack a certain way, it's just, here's a circular arena, you're locked in, they all fight, your brain's not being turned on at all. You get a thing, you go into the menu and it's one level higher. I don't have any stories from Ragnarok. Like, actually, Dave even mentioned the Blood Fang. Like, I remember the fucking afternoon I spent trying to beat that fucker in the Everjail in Elden Ring to get that fucking weapon, which I still use here 25 hours after I got it in Elden Ring. And it's just, there's no I think the specialness that the God of War can do and can give you is diluted a lot by again what Dave said, the podcast game-ness of it. It's just, and my criticism of the skill tree isn't make a better skill tree. It's like, it doesn't have to have one. It does not have to have one. Same with the armor and the going in the menu and this is +1. It doesn't need all of that. It doesn't. If I'm going in there and I'm fighting Thor, and then you just have another hour of say journeying and getting there, and then you have the next set piece. Like I said, if this was a 10-hour experience, I don't think we'd be talking about it in this category. And like I said, this may also just be, I'm broadly very fed up of AAA, and unfortunately, this is the game that's getting it in the year. That could also be a factor.
Let's park it there and take it to a vote.
Okay.
So we'll go in the order that we picked. Mark,
God of War.
Dave, I picked God of War also. Garrett.
I didn't play enough God of War, and I don't have strong feelings about it really either way. I when I played the 2 hours of it today, I wasn't like, I know I said it was like my backlog standout, but that's mostly on pedigree more than like me playing it 2 hours today and be like, oh geez, I really missed something here, which I didn't feel at all. Mm-hmm. But I didn't play enough of Chocobo GP. Fuck them for charging that much money for a game with that egregious monetary situation. Hate it.
All right,
I'd have to go God of War.
And just for the sake of democracy, Jack.
Doesn't matter, does it?
Yeah, but we'd like to know.
Democracy doesn't matter.
Say the words.
Does not matter. Yeah.
Sorry, the Jack Hive must know what was your most disappointing of these two.
Chocobo GP, which is infinitely more disappointing in so many ways than God of War, and I just think
the game isn't even good either. I focus on the monetary side of it, but the game's not even good.
I don't want to go through the list, but there's like half of this list that is infinitely more disappointing than
you guys heard of this Pokemon? What is going on?
We say Pokemon, Jack. Once Jack got rid of Pokemon, it's like it was going to be God of War. It was going to be one of his faves, which the devil's choice.
Yeah, it doesn't feel right, I think, but democracy is democracy. So you got
it does so. most disappointing of the year for 2022, disappointment of the year is God of War Ragnarok.
And we are disappointed to give it to God of War Ragnarok. I think that is also an important caveat.
I
fucking love that game
with a heavy heart.
Let me tell you, when I was 14 years of age, I thought God of War 1 was the greatest fucking piece of media I'd ever seen. There were boobies, there was beheadings. It was at the time the graphical powerhouse.
The 2 Bs.
It was
blades as well, 3 Bs.
It was outrageously great, and 2018 brought me all the way back, and then here we are.
What are the people say?
We're going to go to the tiebreaker poll just to see what everybody said on this one. Neither of our choices were number one on the list. Now, I am pleased to report one of my suspicions was correct, that you put it on the list and people are going to vote for it. PS Plus was number one.
Yeah.
Carrying 36.6% of the vote.
Great choice.
It feels like it should have won, but I don't want to argue about definitions.
Number 2 on the list, Scorn.
Okay.
Yep. And number 3, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet.
Wow.
What was the percentage on Pokemon?
It was 12.2%.
So
it was a little bit behind. You had 36%, 22, and 12.2. So
I'm actually I'm shocked Horizon didn't rank. I thought everyone
I think people just forgot about that fucking thing.
Horizon only received 2 votes.
Wow. Okay.
I don't think anybody cared enough about Horizon.
As did God of War.
Yeah.
As did God of War only received 2 votes.
Yeah.
I think everyone played Horizon and was like,
incredibly, Jack obviously voted 4 times in this because Elden Ring got more votes than either Horizon or God of War.
I think that, look, Elden Ring is one of the greatest reviewed games ever. I think it's perfectly fair that people would play it and go, I don't get it. Although, and that's like, not that we really need to move on, but like the conversation around God of War has been fascinating. You know, like God of War is like right there with Elden Ring. It's one of the greatest reviewed games ever. Ragnarok, I'm talking about. But every podcast I'm listening to is like the conversation we just had.
Yeah.
But it highlights to me that there's still this thing in game reviewing where even if they're not officially breaking the scores down this way, I think games still get graded on their individual elements, of which God of Wars are very good in a lot of ways, music and things like that. But it's been a fascinating game to listen to people talk about.
Well, I think
part of that, and I don't want to be like people are paid off for reviews. That's not what I'm saying here. But I think people are always afraid to like come in with a really strong take at the start about a game like God of War Ragnarok, where you don't know what the consensus about this is going to be. So you're like 8 or 9.
Do you know what's funny, Garrett? And I don't want to I do want to move on as quickly as possible. But over the last couple of years, and I'm sure you guys have experienced this as well, like, even with our like relatively small platform compared to like IGN or anything like that, like I sometimes find myself, if I'm going to post a review of something on Letterboxd or give a take about something on Twitter, I'm just like, am I just going to end up with a fucking like our sake of mentions or comments about this? Like I went like I'll be talking about it on a podcast at some stage, but I saw the new Avatar, and much as I hated the first one and just don't get those movies, I hated the second one as well and don't get those movies. And as I went, like literally hand hovering over posting my score on Letterboxd, I was just like, is this even fucking worth it? Like, do you know what I mean? Because there are people.
You are the tip of the spear, all right?
Yeah, because there are people.
If you
on
write for
Letterboxd,
IGN and you give God of War a 6 before it comes out, you're probably getting a death
never
threat.
the fucking end of it.
Because there are like even to people who are like just complete unknowns, like any of us. Like there are people who will go out of their way to look for negative reviews of the thing they like and badger you about it. So like I can only imagine the pressure that they're under. Anyway, let's move on to the next category.
I just wanted to make the point that it's funny that God of War got more votes for most disappointing on the podcast than it did in the poll.
Yes,
it's a people on the podcast that matters, Jack.
Yeah, no, it's funny. It's just like it makes us feel like the sort of metro elite.
Yeah, it's
against the people.
It's a democracy, but also it's not.